Hello and welcome to Dishelved with Adam White. Today I'm going to talk about Paperbacks from Hell. I know it's a little bit late for Garbogust, but I just recently read the Paperbacks from Hell book and picked out some reading material based on the suggestions of Grady Hendrix and that book. I've read it on my iPad, so I don't have anything to show you. Nor do I have anything to show you because the covers of the two books that I read from it both are mostly white, so they won't show up on my Kindle on screen. But the two books I read were Maynard's House by Herman Raucher and Hellhound by Ken Greenhall, which is also called Baxter in some places. The first one I read was Maynard's House by Herman Raucher, and I have to say I hated it. About 30% of the way into the book, I was thinking, I've got to DNF this. And I thought, nah, it just sounded too interesting. Surely something's going to happen. The premise behind it that they gave you in the Paperbacks from Hell was that a Vietnam veteran ends up fighting a witch in a haunted house. And I was like, that sounds like something I'd be interested in reading. Well, the whole story, it just is mainly about this guy learning to live in Maine in the middle of nowhere where it's snowing all the time. And he is a Vietnam veteran, but there's hardly no one around him. And some strange things do happen. He does get attacked by animals in his outhouse twice. Because yes, he does have an outhouse. It's that kind of rustic place that he's staying. And because his only friend in Vietnam left it in his will to him, his home. And some strange things go on, but I swear to you, the witch didn't appear until 94% into the book. And I mean that seriously. I love being able to give the percentages. And then it wasn't even that big a deal. And so it was just mostly about this guy learning to get back to nature, and he ended up falling for a 16-year-old girl that hung around. So, I mean, I expected, some kind of Rambo versus a crazy witch. And what I got was a back to nature pedophile that was kind of losing his mind as time went by. Now, the ending, I can't really give away the ending because I don't understand what happened. It made no sense whatsoever. The story, like I said, almost the entire thing up to about 94% was just him learning to live on his own in the snow and cutting ice and doing ice fishing and keeping the fire going, and then, making coffee for when the 16-year-old girl came by. And that was almost the entire book. And it was extremely boring. And I should have followed my instincts and DNF'd it, but the ending is what really got me, because it just kind of turned the whole story on its head for no reason, and it made absolutely no sense at all. I cannot describe it to you. Even if I read it word for word, it would mean nothing to you because it makes no sense. I really didn't like it. I should have followed my instincts and DNF'd it. I only paid $1.99 for it on Kindle, but I just absolutely, I thought when I read about it in Paperbacks from Hell that I thought it was going to be really interesting. from the way it sounded, but it was garbage in a bad way. It just was a boring book that made no sense once it came to the end of it. So that's all I'll say about that. The other book I read was Hellhound by Ken Greenhall, also called Baxter. And it's about a dog that's sociopathic and is a killer named Baxter, a bull terrier, and sort of what happens with him and the different people he lives with. I loved this book. Totally different from the other one. Short chapters, that was the other thing. The other one had long chapters that went nowhere. The Maynard's House book. But the chapters in Hellhound were short and to the point and kept you moving at a fast pace, which was really good for the book. The pace really helped it. And you just kept following, you'd follow different people that were around Baxter, and you would follow Baxter himself. You got some that were from the perspective of him. And they were really great chapters, and the whole book was just great. Ken Greenhall was a really good writer, and he's got some other books, and I'm definitely going to check those out if I can find them. I don't know if they're on Kindle or not. I haven't looked yet. If not, I may have to do some secondhand searching. But anyway, Baxter first lives with an old woman. I won't tell you what happens with it, but that's part of the fun of the story. But then he moves on to another young couple who have a baby that takes attention away from Baxter, which let's just say is not a good thing. Then he moves on to a house with parents that don't know what to do with their child. They aren't very good parents, quite frankly, because they're not really interested in their child's life. I think he's like 13 or something, but he's virtually a Nazi. He worships Adolf Hitler, and he comes to sort of an agreement with Baxter that they kind of understand each other, and they're both kind of sociopathic. And it's a really strange book, just in that it's, told mostly from the perspective of a sociopathic dog, a sociopathic boy, and the people that are around them and interact with them and what they think of them. And it just was a really fantastic book. I really enjoyed it a lot. I know it doesn't sound like something that should be enjoyed, but it was a really fun read. Definitely something that I could have done for Garb August. But it was a true paperback from hell in a good way. So my faith in that book is redeemed because, like I said, my first book out of it that I read, Maynard's House, I did not like at all. But Hellhound or Baxter was really, really good. You can get it on Kindle. They're starting to re-release a lot of these paperbacks from hell because of the book Paperbacks from Hell. And so I'm going to read some more in the future and kind of bring those to you as well. I found them really interesting. Well, not Maynard's House. It just really bored me to tears, and then made me infuriated when I read the ending and it made no sense. I mean, it just really, no book I've ever read had such a stupid ending. And anyway, but Hellhound was great. Loved it. Really easy read. I read it in one afternoon. It's not that long of a book, but it really puts you in the minds of the characters, including Baxter the dog, and you really get a good sense of all these people and what their lives are like, and you just get a really good sense of character out of all of them. So Ken Greenhall did a really good job with this book. Uh, really fantastic. Great characters, great fast pace, and kept you guessing till the end. And the end even left you both sad and a little surprised and worried. Let's just say. Uh, it was a really fitting end to the book in this one, in Hellhound. Uh, you really got a sense of what might happen next. And really great book. So Maynard's House, not so much. Wouldn't recommend it. If you're reading Paperbacks from Hell, just skip what they say about that one and don't worry about the book because it's not worth your time. But Hellhound is fantastic. An animal attacks kind of book. And it was really, really just a fantastic, fun, short read. And I highly recommend it. Sorry I didn't have anything to show you. Like I said, there was too much white on the covers they wouldn't show when I held them up to the screen. But Hellhound by Ken Greenhall, definitely give that a try. It's available on Kindle and in paperback. It's definitely worth your time. It's a fun read, especially if you like kind of Garbogusty books. So thank you for hanging out with me this week, and hopefully you enjoyed that. I enjoyed talking about it, and I will see you guys again next week.